Morning, everyone. My Job Diaries. My Job Diaries, you say, at lightningesl.com? Yes. Let's just say to ourselves, well, we had part-time jobs when we were a child, part-time jobs to keep some money in our pocket, part-time jobs to help support ourselves versus having our parents always give us money. So in my case, my father simply said, well, Brian, I know you're young and everything else and innocent. How about doing something to help others? I said to my daddy, I'm only 9 years old. Can I play with my friends? My father said, well, instead of just playing with your friends, how about doing something to help others? And I said, what? I'm just a little kid. I want to play with my friends. He says, basically, no. Come with me on the weekends and work in the hotel where I work. My father was an accountant in a hotel. And usually in a hotel, some kind of restaurants and exercise rooms and, of course, rooms. In my case, my father wanted me to work as a busboy. You say a busboy. What's a busboy? A busboy is simply someone who buses. No, he doesn't drive a bus and four wheels and a motor. No. Somebody who helps others in a restaurant situation. Helping a waiters, helping the cook, things like that in a restaurant situation. So I said to myself, what do I have to do? Don't worry, my father said. You'll talk to Nino. Again, I'm saying, who's Nino? Nino was the supervisor of people working in the restaurants. Now, this particular hotel had a large banquet hall. It had a type of place you walk in and see live entertainment, as well as coffee shop. In this case, the coffee shop was called the Pagoda House. Pagoda House? Yeah, Pagoda House. Anyways, Pagoda House was open 6 a.m., 7 days a week, 6 a.m. to roughly 8 o'clock at night. Yeah. And, of course, there's hotel guests who come down for lunch and breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So in my particular case, my father said to me, I want you to help us set up the actual Pagoda House or coffee shop before the guests come downstairs for breakfast, which means early rise, which means early getting there. Now, I lived in the Bathurst and Wilson area a long time ago here in Toronto, Ontario. And from my house to the bus stop, if I had to walk the bus stop, was about a 10-minute walk. It wasn't that terrible. But I'm saying to myself, I'm still only a kid, 9 years old. I'd rather play. So basically, in those days, of course, it was a lot different world in the sense that it was a lot safer, less people on the roads, and so on. So myself and my father would drive. My father drove, of course. I was too young. Drove to the hotel. At first, we drove, but you know what? Within a month of driving there on weekends, my father said, you know what? Let's take a bus. So instead of let's say, taking a car, we had to walk to the bus stop. Bus stop's not that far, but we took our time. It took us 15 minutes, whatever. So there we are, early in the morning. I'm talking 5:30 in the morning, where most of you are in dreamland. I'm already on the bus. Yeah, I'm on the bus on Wilson Avenue, one of the streets in North York, Toronto area. And I'm going westbound towards Jane Street here in Toronto. And there's the hotel called Beverly Hills Motor Hotel. Yeah. And of course, the hotel never closes. It's open all the time, of course. So there I am with my father dragging me into this coffee shop to see a guy named Nino. And he said basically to the Nino, hello Nino, this is my son Brian, and I want you to help him work in the Pagoda House coffee shop as a busboy. And there I am like all, nervous and shy and everything else. And I started working. In other words, before this and this, he took me to the Hook and Ladder Club, which is a massive, massive indoor tavern with lots, 500 chairs, tables, and so on. And they had live entertainment at night. My job in that case, it was like a two-man operation, a two-part operation. I would work in the Hook and Ladder Club tavern, as well as the Pagoda coffee shop, both. I did both every Saturday and Sunday, which simply meant helping to set it up, clean up, etc. The first part of my job was the tavern part, Hook and Ladder Club. And there was, as I said, when I say 500 chairs, I'm serious, there was 500 chairs. Now, of course, at night, they vacuumed the floor and make it nice and clean for the following night's activities. So my job was to take down 500 chairs from tables. That's right. 500 chairs means 500 glasses had to be set on the tables. 500 forks and knives, 500 napkins, you can see. So you can get the picture. It was a lot to do, a lot. My job, basically, to the time I got there, which is like 15 minutes to 6 o'clock a.m., was to set up the dining room, right? Once that's all done, which took me almost an hour and a half to 2 hours to do that, to go into the coffee shop, Pagoda House, And by then it's roughly 8 o'clock, and by then they're serving breakfast. So you can see it's a two-part operation I was doing every Saturday and Sunday. And I did the actual job, believe it or not, almost 10 years. Yeah. You might say to yourself, 10 years as a busboy? You gotta be kidding. No, I'm not kidding. And the reason I'm talking about this particular story here at lightningesl.com is because sometimes a busboy and that type of a job, as a part-time job, it can be one of the best jobs you've ever had in your life. At the time, of course, I thought, I gotta be nuts. I'm cleaning this, doing that. Where all my friends are sleeping in, having parties, going to dances, going to all kinds of things. In other words, doing a lot of activities and sports and having fun. But there I am, cleaning tables and setting up tables. Well, after about a month of doing this, 2 months of doing this, at first I hated it. But after doing it for a while, guess what? That's right, I learned to like it. And the main reason is the interaction with people. In a hotel environment, as it sounds, you're meeting people from all over the world. All over the world, meaning cultures, traditions, languages, and of course you add on disabilities. That's right. People came in wheelchairs. People came in with walkers. Some people were blind. Some people had oxygen tanks beside their tables and so on. And a lot of people I know out there are saying to themselves, I couldn't do something like that. I said, well, guess what? When you're not given an allowance by your father and mother for any kind of food or luxuries or whatever it is, the money I made working as a busboy paid for a lot of things. All the toys I wanted to buy, let's say candies, cookies, call what you want, paid for that. Yeah. And later on in life, as I said, I worked there 10 years to my teenage years, and also going to Ryerson. It paid for golf and tennis and fishing and gas, my very first car, etc. So you can see, even though it was a part-time job, it was quite amazing, quite amazing. So, as I said before earlier, working with other people from other cultures, you learn about their traditions, you learn about their language, English pronunciation, if they have English pronunciation properly or not. Your brain acts like a sponge, absorbing a lot of this information. It really, really does. You don't realize it. And at first you say to yourself, a busboy, I couldn't clean tables. Sure, there's a mess. Sure, there's a headache sometimes. And you're working in a coffee shop and you're very, very busy. Not always. And I've proved myself a long time ago doing this type of job, being around other people and learning their quirks, their language skills, their traditions. You learn so much about other people on this planet, which you can use to your benefit in any type of job. That's right. Not everybody works in that job over there or this one from that country. You learn to adapt, to adjust your teaching the case of linguist behavior and reacting with other people. Yeah, you cannot do that from a book. You cannot do that from an internet or whatever. You have to live it and experience it. Sure, your parents will tell you how to react to this, this, and this. But living through it like I did for 10 years, I learned so much about myself, so much about other people. That was the big advantage working as a busboy. As part of my job diaries, I'll be talking about many jobs I've had in the past, part-time, before I went to the teaching profession. But that's how you learn about yourself. There's no guarantee of any job. I've had jobs that last, like I said, this is the longest one I've had besides teaching for 10 years. I've had part-time jobs, a job that lasted an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, one day, and so on. Every job is different. So that's why I'm going by my job diaries here at lightningesl.com. You never know basically what's going to happen. You really never know. You really, really never know. But unless you physically experience it. This is lightningesl.com. Thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye.